I'm Dan.
And I'm James.
And welcome to Backseat Driver Movie Reviews. Sorry, let's try that again. I'm Dan.
And I'm James.
And welcome to the Backseat Driver Movie Reviews. This is our first one.
Our first one.
First one ever, so thanks for being along with the ride. And today's movie is...
Hereditary. That's how good the movie was.
It wasn't that bad, but it is Hereditary. It is a new horror movie. I use air quotes there. Horror movie with Toni Collette and Gabriel Byrne and some others. And James. So, what did you think about it?
So, it was an interesting film. Very visually stunning and beautiful. In my opinion,
yeah.
Very, very slow. Also, there just wasn't. It was weird what the story was, but I just didn't feel that it. I left the theater just thinking, okay, well, we've seen that before.
True, and normally we do a little bit of a recap of what the movie is, but I think the problem here, you give away, I think, some of what they want to surprise you and twist you with. So, I mean, the basic premise being that the grandmother, or the grandmother of this family dies, and then weird things start to happen. This is what I would call is an art house horror movie. It is definitely not anything along the lines of the Halloween movies or Nightmare on Elm Street or even the Saw franchise. It's not there to gross you out necessarily. There are gross moments, but it's a much more of a slow burn.
True. So I went back and rewatched the trailer. Yeah. And I really dislike when they doctor the trailer to make it shift in one direction, because the trailer makes it seem one thing. Yeah. And things that they actually, certain characters say in the trailer is completely not what was said in the movie.
Well, the most interesting thing to me, and to that point, is in many ways, this is like old school Stephen King novel. The reality is, this is a family drama that just takes a left turn into some weird supernatural stuff. It's not a horror movie from the outset. It's like a family drama about how you deal with death and grief that takes a left turn into the supernatural realm. And so I think as the viewer, the trailers don't tell you that. They don't prep you for that. And then I'm just sort of like, is something going to happen? And then when things do happen, I'm like, that's out of left field.
But that's the thing, is I felt like it focused so much on, behavioral health issues, but it never really gets to why are there these issues. Yeah. And then what you say is, then there's the supernatural aspect. But there's all of a sudden just, what was it, an hour and 15 minutes into the movie, then supernatural stuff starts to happen. Otherwise, just what is this? Not that I need supernatural in my horror, because I think that is the genre that it's either extremely gory or supernatural. This movie did have really good character development up to this point, but it didn't explain why in general they are all messed up. I mean, it just, and then you have and I hate this in movies, the 2-minute ending. And the same thing in books. It's you read 800 pages and the last 4 wraps it all up. And it's how are you wrapping up a 2-hour film in 5 minutes? And it just is very visually stunning.
Well, and I don't want to pile on the movie. It is well acted. Yeah. It is well directed. I actually enjoyed some of the direction. It reinforces my belief that miniatures are creepy, and I do not want miniatures in my house. And I mean miniature doll houses and things. Not what my daughter might play with, but I'm talking about those replica miniatures of real life scenes. So those are creepy. It's just, it's not a horror movie in the sense of what people might think hey, this is a compelling horror movie. It is a very slow burn, deliberative art house horror movie. I would actually liken this to The Witch, which actually came out a few years ago. very similar in its structure and what it's trying to get across. I will say this is more engaging and entertaining than The Witch. I found The Witch fascinating in the sense of its setting and time period, but ultimately boring in the sense of how its execution and pacing was just very boring to me. This one, actually more interesting. I still wish more happened, and there was a little more, as you say, connecting the different pieces that they drop across, as opposed to just, we're going to wrap it up in the last 2 minutes. I wish they'd done a lot more connecting to build up to the big thing. It was a lot of breadcrumbs, and then suddenly it all came together.
Yeah.
And not in a wholly satisfying way, but in a, oh, yeah, I sort of thought that. So, at the end of the day, I think that I would give Hereditary like 2 out of 5 popcorn buckets.
I might say 1.5. Just because I really like the characters.
Mm-hmm.
But it just was like an empty bowl of popcorn. Like, it just didn't feel satisfying. And I am easily entertained.
Understandable. Alrighty, well, I'm Dan.
And I'm James.
And thanks for taking the drive with us.